Hey there, and welcome back to Gorge for another casted game. So on the south side of the Gorge this time we have AoE4 in the red as the Abbasid dynasty, and on the north side in the pink we have a good friend of the channel, Just Meh, as the Japanese. And Just Meh has sent me this this game to check out because he said it was a really fun one. So if you want to be awesome just like Just Meh, then all you have to do is just meh. Send me the the information as a comment, and then I can add it to my list to casting. So whether you are a Conqueror Chad or you are a Diamond Dog, it doesn't matter what rank you are, I'm happy to cast any level. Anything interesting, exciting, fun, or something you want me to check out and maybe give you some tips, then we can take a look at that. So let's take a look at the scouting path for both of these players then while we talk about this matchup. So we can see that AoE4 has gone all the way across the map because he's out on the berries, you can see on the mini-map over here. So this is a really aggressive scouting path, which I really like. So whenever I'm not restricted by sheep, this is exactly what I would do, is cut straight over and try and get one whole side. If we switch over to Just Meh's view, we can see he's also doing the same and being very aggressive with his scouting path, and he's doing very well. You can see actually from his shape he's tucked in, and he's also gone and got the ones that would have been just around the outside of AoE4's base. So this now, they're both going to clean up both sides, so a fairly equal number of sheep you'd imagine. Potentially, if Just Meh was lucky with the ones he got from the side, he might have actually snagged a couple of extra ones. So if we head over to the bases, we can see that Just Meh went for the early Tawara opening, so he's already got that level 1, the Japanese wheelbarrow, which means these berries are going to be giving him a really nice food eco. And you can see he's got 3 on gold, which is pretty standard, and then the new villagers are coming out onto sheep. So this is a really nice thing to do where you don't keep moving them all out to berries because of that walking distance. Then these guys can be used for the age up and you keep all of your berry villagers there. So looking at the position, I imagine we're going to be seeing a Kura storehouse, and I would imagine it's probably either going to be directly behind the TC, which I'm not always a fan of, or I would say off to one side here potentially could be good. Then maybe you could use it as a drop-off point, or on the other side where there's all the wood lines around it and you can get all of those juicy farms. But if we head over to AoE4's side, he's gone for the classic Abba opening into the military wing. So this is really nice. So we can see he's already going onto wood quite heavily, so potentially we might be seeing the classic military wing into second TC. No one on stone as of yet, and if we look at his resources, actually this is a really nice spawn for AoE4. So the stone and the berries are on one side, the gold is actually on the back, and then at the front, actually, the little wood lines at the front and none of the main resources around the front. Whereas if we look at Just Meh's side, who's gone for the Kura storehouse directly behind, he's got actually sort of a semi-front gold and the side exposed berries. So actually, his little wood line is over here in the back. So I think actually this is quite a nice little spawn for this military wing. So if he gets a TC out quickly, he might be able to drop it here and really secure up this side. I don't think he's going to be going for this exposed deer, if I'm honest, if he does go for that TC. Yeah, so the Kura storehouse here actually is fine, obviously, because it does work as a universal drop-off, so you can use it as your lumber camp. But I think the fact that you block 2 of those farms, you know, just one of those things. Maybe that extra wood will be able to be used, but because you have such a nice big wood line that's safe, it's usually not a game where you want that to be more flexible. But if we take a look now, we can see the scout going over, and they're both checking each other out, seeing what's going on, and Just Meh's getting a tower up on his gold, so it looks like we might be seeing the classic Japanese fast castle here. So the military wing units have come out, and obviously as the Abbasid dynasty, that military wing gives you 2 spears and 2 archers to do damage, and there's also some villagers coming across. So this is potentially interesting. Let's follow them as they head over. So we can see that the villagers are following over, and whether they've been selected by mistake, they seem too far away to be there. So I imagine we're going to be seeing some shenanigans. And there's a little red dot on the mini-map that's going to appear any second, which is a tower. So we're seeing the feudal age tower rush. I love it. So trying to deny the the gold, and this is actually really clever from AoE. So the scout there just distracting. So this is really nice because with one tower, this can defend that one side, but you can't defend both sides with a tower, as any Mongol player will know. So putting a tower here actually, once you put those units in, would actually stop him gathering on this gold, even with this defensive tower. So unless Justme can get some units out, he's then going to be forced to go out onto another gold, and which would be on this top side, which could be harassed by these military units. So yeah, I think at the moment, if you saw the previous game, then Justme was also tower rushed in that one, but that was Mongols. So let's hope this tower rushing action isn't a premonition for Season 8, when we're going to be seeing towers all over the place, because yeah, as a as a player, that's not my favourite thing to come up against. But we do see that AoE is on the stone, so it does look like he's going to be going for that second TC behind it, but with this to deny it. So look, now they are off the gold, but we do see siege engineering coming in, and this is one of the benefits of the Japanese, because the forge allows you to get all of your blacksmith techs there without having to build an extra building, which is great. And we can see some Yumi Ashigaru, which are the Japanese archers, coming out, so they're going to be able to put a ram down when he gets a little bit more wood. But it is getting upgraded with arrow slits and with that defense, so it looks like it's going to be a lot harder to break, but with one ram eventually it'll be done. So now these units circling around trying to do damage, pushing him off of these berries, and the archers trying to now get rid of these spears and these archers. The Japanese archers aren't as strong, but they are cheaper and a little bit faster to produce, so you can generally mass them relatively well. And the two villagers have just decided to go and steal the front berries, so I really like this this play here, just being super greedy and just grabbing those berries at the front. And also we've got them out on the berries up here, and finishing off the ones here, so really trying to get all of those exposed resources while they have that military advantage. We can also see from the pink dot here that Justme is moving out onto the gold, and AoE is also planning on towering that. So it looks like this second TC is going to be sitting for a while. We've got the stone, but we just don't have the wood because we're spending it on towers. So now we can see both this tower is upgraded, this one is also upgraded, so now they're just slowly shooting each other and shooting random stuff. So we can see a villager being chased by the wolf, and always love to see it, and don't love to be on the receiving end. And we can see we've got a couple of horsemen out now, so really sort of committing to this feudal age. We've got two horsemen circling around with a third following over, so this will be this guy here, and then we've got the two spears and the two archers. But unfortunately these villagers are going to be torching down that tower, and that is a load of lost resources unless he was able to get it just before. So these horsemen you can see on the mini-map here are going to be circling around trying to see if he's on this gold, but now that he's secured this one, a well-placed tower could actually prevent it. But we can see here he's still going for the tower in the back of this, so whether the villagers are going to be pulled to put a stop to that, we'll have to wait and see. So now we can see a ram and some Japanese archers going there, and some units jumping in and out of the tower to try and do as much damage as possible. So this is not a great position for Justme at the moment, because these archers, if they jump out, are going to get taken out by the horse, and if they don't, the ram is going to go down, which is a lot of resources to lose at this stage with those 200. He is getting very close to the castle age, so if AoE isn't careful, some of those castle age mounted samurai or castle age samurai are going to be popping out, and that's when they're going to be in real danger. A defensive tower going up on the north gold, as we see a load of red dots heading over horsemen and those other units. So now Justme is going to have to be really careful to not lose these, because he's got 8 villagers and only 5 slots in the tower. So this is where those 3 villagers may get caught out, and that could create a bit of a villager advantage there for AoE. So if we take a look, that tower's still there and being repaired by the villager that was over on Berry, so really nice keeping this tower going and stopping this potentially safe gold from being taken. So those horses are going to get those 3 villagers down there, so now that's definitely a little boon for AoE. We can see the towers getting upgraded with arrow slits, so it's going to be able to do a bit more damage to these horses. That archer is definitely not going to do too much, and it's whether the defense doesn't have enough stone from the passive Japanese stone yet, so that's not going to get upgraded. So whether he's going to be jumping in and out to try and rebuild it, these horses are going to be taking it down. A spear coming over, but 1 spear against 4 horses. But is this a good fight for AoE? I'm not sure, because the damage he's taking on these horses when they could be doing more, it's a lot of resources to lose, because horses are very expensive compared to the other feudal age units. So jumping out for a little repair there, really nicely done, and the horses haven't noticed, but they are now going for it, so they're going to jump back in. That's the ticket. So This is a really clever thing you can do. Jump your villagers out, start repairing it, and as soon as the military units start attacking your villagers, they jump back in again and start doing damage. So actually, because of that quick repair and another quick repair coming out now, these horses are not going to be able to take that tower down, and this is going to mean that the castle age is going to be all but assured, with a cheeky spear coming in and a couple more in the background over here. So if we take a look, and a tower with some Yumiya Shigaru have managed to take down that front tower there, so hopefully those archers are going to pop out and get rid of this cheeky spearman, and so now these villagers and the army running around are going to really have to worry, because once the Japanese have that safe gold, then they're in a really strong position. So 3 units in here, these will be the spears which will jump out if the horsemen try and take it again, and so you can see massing up this food eco and waiting for the gold to come in to try and hit castle age. A stable's being dropped in the back, so now having something to spend all of that food on getting horses, because against horse archer, going horse spear or horse archer is a pretty good combination. If we take a look over at AoE4's side, while the fighting is a little calmer, he's going out slowly with a couple of villagers on all the different berries, so the safe ones at home have gone, these ones are being taken, and so that's definitely been doing. The second TC has finally gone up on the gold, a very safe position, and we can check out here the horsemen and archers from AoE are going in to try and do some damage. The ram that was used going home just for a rest, and maybe one of the villagers might repair it up if needs be. So we can see over here to the all of these units sitting around, and there's also a couple of archers, a couple of spears, so they're really trying to put the pressure on. But with this defensive tower and the arrow slits and those units in there, they're not going to be able to do a huge amount of damage. So looking at the base over here, we've got the second TC pumping, so now that villager lead is really starting to take off, and it looks like we've got a lot of gold in the bank, but we see more production coming down, so whether it's going to be a castle age or just all of those military techs and going for the upgrades. No eco techs as yet. So with all this food eco, you definitely love to see AoE going for his wheelbarrow, his double broadaxe. There we go, they're all popping in literally as I said it, and also only just getting fresh food stuff. So this potentially is a bit of a misplay here, because that does reduce the villager cost by 35%. So with 2 TCs, that saves you a huge amount of resources, so you want to be getting that as soon as you hit feudal age, because this season this was actually added to the mill, so you can get it basically immediately because you always go on berries. So we can see a big train of villagers going up here, so it looks like either they're going for the gold or the deer packing the top, and we can see that the cheeky units have been coming around here, but those archers are going to get caught out by the horsemen and the archers there, and they're using the wood line to their advantage, but the speed of these horsemen definitely mean they're going to be taken out, and the wolf also just trying to do a little bit of damage, but a nice surround there. Oh, okay, really nice surround there, and those archers are going down. So the military difference here has been equalised, and it looks like Justme is starting to pull ahead a little bit. He's spending a lot of his gold, so no castle age just yet, but I think that's a smart move. When you see a mass of units coming at you, you need to make sure that you don't go castle age when they can just push you and you can just completely die. So a house going up on these front berries here, so quite exposed, but trying to make the most of the berries. I'd probably have gone straight over to these ones over here, because you've already got a tower to defend, so you've got a space to drop back to, and also maybe a couple of short walls could have secured that area for you. But Justme is a much more confident player clearly than I am, because I would be much more concerned about the raiding going on, especially when I know there's all those horsemen on the field. So Ecotech's coming through for AoE now, along with the military techs, the arrow damage and the arrow defense, which are definitely the right ones to be doing. We can see arrow attack and arrow defense also for Justme, as well as the +1 melee damage, the second +1, because the Japanese get a Dark Age one as well, so that's going to be +2 to all the melee and the melee defense, so going really military heavy here, spending all of this gold, and there we go, we're going to see all these horsemen charging in. And is it just archers? Couple of spears, but I don't know if it's going to be enough spears to take on all those horses, so we definitely need to be seeing some more spears coming out to combat this cavalry and archer composition, because these archers are going to be taken out by those horses very, very quickly if they're not careful. Nice little bit of micro pulling the spears through, and this is not a great fight for AoE, because he pulled back. He's getting shot to I was going to use a bad word there. He's getting shot a lot by the archers as he runs away. So now he's taken significant damage, and the samurai and the spearmen have been able to really whittle them down. And so that was a fantastic fight for Just Met. And if I honestly think if AoE hadn't pulled back there, that would have been a very, very different story. If he'd focused on these archers, that mass would have gone down. And he's going up to Castle Age now with the Eco Wing. So wow, this is potentially a very interesting choice. Obviously, if he gets those armoured units, that's really going to help, because he doesn't get access to feudal heavy units like the samurai. But going for that eco is obviously to secure the farm transition, because eventually once the food runs out on the map, then he's going to need some way of doing that. So having those reduced farms, the cost of those farms is going to really help. So all these units now pushing him off the external food sources as a bit of a preemptive strike. He's run all the villagers back over and been able to catch a couple there. So 14 villagers have gone down now, just as we were talking. So this lead has dramatically dropped, being caught out on some of these exposed resources, and the train of villagers that were running back from the deer have got caught out by these horses. So a really, really nice pick up there from Just Mare. So now this is looking potentially scary on the other hand for AoE, because he's now doing what we talked about earlier. He's going up to Castle Age, and with this mass of 50 units knocking on his base, a couple of rams going up could be the end to his dreams here. So whether he's able to take advantage of all of this gold and get the units out, but he just doesn't have the food at the moment, so I'd be very concerned. As the Abbasid, also you need to be really careful of these kind of landmark snipes. As we see the horsemen trying to dive into the wood lines again, you want to be really careful because you only get 2 landmarks. You only get these 2, which does mean that you have to be really careful, because it's much easier to landmark snipe the Abbasid, because unlike everyone else, as soon as you go to castle you have 3 landmarks, so it's actually more difficult to get them all. So we see these farms going up, and a horseman actually just running under the TC, doesn't care about the arrow fire, all of these units streaming in to do damage, and going for these farms around the TC. And the villagers, I don't think they've noticed because of the fighting going on the gold, and that gold's almost exhausted as well, so now there's no safe gold either. These samurai are going to be doing huge damage. The TC is completely full, and these units are running around mayhem. 21 villagers now, and slowly now focusing on the military. We can see a couple of gulams in queue, but the samurai for the time being should be able to fend them off relatively well. We can see another ram popping in from the top, and we can see units streaming over. So Justmet is fully committing to this push and really doing a huge amount of damage. 33 idols, only 9 military left, and a couple of 6 of them are these archers, as well as the gulam that are tanking all these samurais. So once these archers and gulam are down, the gulam numbers are increasing, but units are just streaming over, and a villager pull on the ram there, so that ram is not going to be making it away, but the samurai streaming in to get those villagers on the front. We can see now that the gulams have managed to clear up most of these units, but they're just continuing to pile in, and once these production buildings go down, it's going to be a really difficult spot for AoE, because he won't be able to get those gulams out to do the damage. So this is really going to be make it or break it for both of these players. So can AoE hold against this push? He does have the safe eco over here. You can see he's on the berries and he's on the wood line. He's snuck out over here. So if a couple of units can find those, then they're going to be in trouble. But look, we got the bannerman as well. So he's buffing up these samurai and tanking the gulam. The gulam are doing a huge amount of damage and managing to take them out relatively well. So the numbers are starting to increase, and so this may potentially is the point where Justmet is going to have to consider his own Castle Age while we see these farms being dropped. We don't have Fertile Crescent come in, so these are full price farms, and you just want to be getting that, and you want to get these 2. You've got the resources, please get the upgrades, get them. Also, you've got composite bows. You can go to mass archers, which would do a huge amount of damage considering you have the wood. But please just get the Fertile Crescents, and then your farm transition is going to be so much cheaper. And our agriculture is the special upgrade that gives those farms an extra 15% boost as well, so that eco wing is super strong. But the villagers standing idle at the front while he's trying to micro elsewhere, and we can see that the military have pushed him off the off these external food sources at the side, and then we can see a mosque that's been dropped trying to get some relics as well for some of that eco. But all of these villagers being pulled back into the woodline, horses running around like mayhem, and 35 kills now, and actually completely equalise the villager difference. So now this TC so far has not paid off at all, apart from the resources he's already gathered. So this is actually a really good spot now for Justmare, but he's got to be super careful because these castle units are getting their castle upgrades, which means his units aren't going to be able to survive much longer. And almost as though it was a premonition, we see the floating gate being dropped somewhere over here. There we go. So that's going to give him the Yorishiro, which he can either use to increase his military production. He's going to be able to get passive gold or food, or he can put it in his TC to get at faster villagers as well. We can see he's also on the stone, so whether we're going to be seeing some daimios going in, or it's going to be for some upgrades of towers and stuff like that, we're just going to have to wait to see what he's spending it on. Obviously the stone does give you passive gold, so it is a way of also getting gold at the same time, so he might be planning on using it just to get gold because it's a little bit more secure, and it's maybe filling up space in his base. So while the fighting now seems to have calmed down, we can see one relic in hand for AoE. So if we check out on his side, we can see he's grabbed one of these safe ones, so that's going to be a nice little bit of gold eco for him. He doesn't have any gold villagers at the moment, so he's really going to need to find some gold from somewhere. Castle Age coming in from Justmare, and we'll see where the Yorishiro has gone. So we can see the little guy with the box, and where's he going to put his magic box? Into a barracks? Perfect. So that's going to increase the production speed here. So you can see a spearman is 5 seconds compared to the usual 15. So it's a massive increase, which means those infantry are going to be flooding over. So guarding the relic here really nicely from Justmare, so that's going to be one that's prevented, and he's going to have his own Shinto priest. He's going to be able to send that guy over and get that. So when that Shinto priest starts moving, please go get a relic. Come on, you've dropped your Yorishiro, go get it. There we go. And so now if we check out the still raiding on the back line, and these horses are tanking up these archfire and just causing problems after problems for AoE. He can see that he's doing some walls along the side to try and prevent some of these raids, but this exposed mosque is going to be really bad if Justmare can take that out and steal that relic. That's going to be basically all of his gold eco at the moment, because he's being pushed off this one, and this is really nice work here from Justmare because the gold and the berries are here. One villager actually is long distance gathering it. I have no idea where it's dropping it off at the moment because the mill has gone, but that villager won't be lasting much longer. 44 villager kills now, so Justmare is already ahead with the villagers. So if we switch over to eco, we'll be able to see the difference now, and you can see the food eco for Justmare is really good, even considering he has all of these farms. Does he have his techs? He doesn't, and he actually has a lot of archers as well, so you'd want to be seeing that and going mass archers would be good. Also, these upgrades, please get Fertile Crescent, I beg you. So I'm hoping before the end of this game we're going to see Fertile Crescent guides, so hopefully if you pray for Fertile Crescent as well. But a couple of these veteran samurai coming over and ruining the day of these gold villagers. So really needed to get that tower up before you started mining, because those samurais are basically idling 10 villagers. Some real amazing value from these two. So it looks like the villagers are going to be trying to circle round, but yeah, it's and then more villagers being pulled out onto it, and the same samurai are going to be able to do damage. So if we check out a massive units coming across here with 3 bannermen, so these units are going to be super strong, and we can see the full force of the AoE HK military coming over to take out those samurai. And this potentially is going to be quite dangerous, because if he's caught out of position here, and then we can find a way into his base, like this horseman that's blocking the wall. Fantastic work here. While it's on the blueprint, you can't actually build it, so that's preventing those front walls from coming across. So there's also a relic which was almost picked up, so now it's kind of in no man's land. I don't think either player is going to manage to grab that. We can see one relic is in hand for Justmare now, and we should be seeing the second Yorishiro at some point very soon. So that one, you can see it's almost halfway, and we should be seeing where he's going to be putting that. We also have a second TC, so that must have been what the some of the stone was used for, and we should be seeing the daimyo coming in, so level 2 on the home TC. So let's have a look at this fight that's going on. We've got the Katana Batterman and the Samurai taking on the Spearmen and really tanking the damage. And in come the Ghulams, so we're going to see how this goes. No crossbows, or one crossbow so far, so it's not the greatest composition. The Ghulams versus Samurais is good, but you need way more crossbows than that if you're going to be taking on those castle heavy units. They also have the extra damage melee damage. Oh, my mouth's going to start working at some point. So they do really pack a punch. And two samurai coming out there and still doing loads of damage. Although you've got that tower, no springald emplacement means they can basically run around under there for ages. And they have their deflect armor, which means they survive even longer. We can see the units running around under the TCs, causing idle time, running straight back into that wood line and doing damage. Almost up to 50 kills now for Justmare. And now he's on 2 TCs. He's really starting to push that advantage. So the eco now is really starting to pop off, and if we check over on his side while there's just a little fighting going on, we can see that he's on the berries, he's got a market to use all of his resources, and we can see all of these safe farms around his home TC, and the Yoroshiro's gone in there for that increased production speed on villagers, so now 16 seconds instead of 20. So now this the 2 TC play here is really going to make a big difference the longer this game goes on. We can see no walls here, no defensive structures of any kind from Justmare, because he's really pushing, but we can see that AoE is trying to secure his base as much as possible with walls at the front, but his front door is still completely open, and if he's caught out of position now, his full military moving over, but he's got to be really careful of these guys running right through the front doors of his base. I also think he's been caught out by a trick I've had a lot of the time. On the minimap you see this red line, but it's not actually fully built, so I think he believes it's built and it isn't, unfortunately. So we'll go into the caster mode so we can watch the full action here of all these amazingly buffed up samurai, and it looks like the fight is slowly turning towards the Japanese in this case. The bannermen going down, but their banner stays there, and so you still get the buff for a certain period after they're gone. So fighting under these banners is still not a good position, and even with defenders advantage, the majority of the Japanese forces have survived there. So this is now going to be a really scary prospect with double the military and over 20 villagers ahead. So now we can see production being dropped at the front, that's down, and a lot of idle villagers, and as Justmare's been doing a lot in this game, sending a couple of units to that backwood line just to cause havoc. And we can see there's a Shinto priest that's running over here. Not sure what he's trying to grab. Is there a relic at the top? Not so sure. But we can see the full force in the back of the base here really taking this on, and I think we are looking at the final seconds of this game as the Japanese samurai are cleaning up AoE HK's forces, and I wouldn't be very surprised if this fight ends and unfortunately we see the end of the game. But I think being able to continuously raid and force these early expensive farms, especially without Fertile Crescent, has really damaged the eco of AoE in this case, and because Justmare managed to push off that early aggression and then basically set up his eco is absolutely popping off. So we can see here, looking at that, and shall we check it out? Still no Fertile Crescent, guys. Okay, so we're going to do a review when the game is over, but I'm sure you're going to know already what one of my comments will be. And as I predicted there, the military completely gone, and AoE HK throws in the towel after a really amazing hold and great fight into castle. And here we are then, back with the final samurai showdown at the front of AoE HK's base before GG was called. So we're going to have a little look at the post-game review and see how things could have gone. So we're going to pause it now just so we don't run out of time. We spent a lot of time looking at AoE's base, so let's go over to Justmare and see what he was doing. So we can see all of these farms around his home, his landmark TC, and we can see it already has the Daimyo level 2, which means you're getting a massive buff to all of these farms, which is really, really nice. And we can also see that a second TC went up in the middle of the game, which has been able to really push this villager advantage, because getting 54 kills by the end of this game, and probably a few more in the last few minutes, that is done an incredible job of really knocking down the economy of the Abbasid and the Japanese are really popped off there. So we can see a Yorishiro went into the archery range, which I think is a really good idea with the barracks as well. Obviously, you could consider putting it in a house for food, but you do have a lot of food as the Japanese. Even putting it in a forge to get that gold would potentially be a good idea, or even in your second TC and really start buffing up, printing out those units. But getting close to the 200 pop, that would only work for so long. But we can see that the landmark TC does have the Yorishiro in there, so they will be coming out that little bit more quickly. We can see 2 relics for Justmare, which is a really nice job because he also gets the free Shinto priests from the floating gate, so really nicely done there. We can see he basically gathered most of the berries at the front, he's got the berries at the side, and he's gone for this gold, so far he still actually has some safe food up in the corner and gold, so he's not starved for resources at all. And because he was out on the gold over here, he's been able to maintain the one at home and is only just about to use that up. Whereas if we head over to AoE's base, we can see he's used all of his safe resources here and his gold on this side, and so he was over here gathering up these berries and the gold, but got pushed off of that and then kept getting pushed off this front gold up here. So this one, he definitely needed these 2 towers up earlier, and they need to be getting sprinkled on those defenses so that at least 10 of those villagers could be gathering at all times, because Justmare sent 2 samurai over there on a number of occasions, and that did a huge amount of damage. So not closing off completely the front of the base like this, and this wall being prevented, I think made it much easier for Justmare's units to run in here. You can see there's actually a couple of these guys which are just about to run in and do some damage to the eco at the back here. Also, the raiding that was going on this wood line, sending a couple of horsemen in every so often, really I think distracted some of the military as well, and AoE tended to pull his whole military to fight those units, so then it did leave some openings which I think worked really well in Justmare's favour. We can see the ram that's going around here that's just doing a load of damage. And we can see, if we take a look here, this would be my biggest review for anyone playing Abbasid. If you go for the military wing, he's got boot camp, which is fantastic, but if you're going into archers, you should really have composite bows. But the bigger problem, the bigger thing that you need to think about is, if you're going for the eco wing, you're going for it for the reduced economic buildings. So you have to get Fertile Crescent, and just like Fresh Foodstuffs that was a little bit delayed, this should be the very first thing you get, especially if you're being forced to make farms. Because if we look at all of the farms that AoE had, we can see all of these ones around the TC. We've got 14 here, we've got even more here. So let's say we've got 20 in total so far. They could have been 30% cheaper, which is huge. And if your food eco is basically all farms and you have the resources, you should have the agriculture that then will buff them up even more. So we have level 2 of the normal horticulture, the normal food upgrades, but having that extra one is just so important, and that would have made a huge difference to the food eco. So these defensive walls I think are okay, potentially actually coming across this way a little bit earlier and then blocking in this gold and this food would have made it a little bit easier. And having an exposed mosque here I think is potentially quite dangerous for that one relic to be taken out. There is another one that's held, which is in the base safe, so this position I like much better. But I think the main difference here was that the hold to castle was fantastic from AoE, getting those gulams out to have those castle units to do damage, but then his eco just wasn't able to ever really kick back into gear and stop the flood of units coming in. So fantastic play from Justmare here with the Japanese, and I hope you've enjoyed another exciting adventure in the Tower Rush saga that it looks like Age of Empires is becoming. But yeah, have fun with whatever you're doing today, and I'll see you in the next one for more Age of Empires action.